very important to President are people, institutions, and the economy. And for me, when I'm tying all of these things, I see that people are the first looking at everything that we do. So my first question is that the renewal of the ANC for South Africa, or will they have new ideas of where the country is supposed to be heading? Because when we're listening to them, we're not finding what is new that they, or what the vision of South Africa is. And then also my second question then says, do you also think that we will get out of the crisis that we find ourselves in? First female president of the Republic, what do you think, how does one choose to be the change in South Africa? Thank you, President.
Thank you.
Good afternoon or good evening. Thank you, Program Director, for the opportunity. My name is Mwekezi Mazaleni, a master's candidate in public affairs from Tshwane University of Technology. My question to you, President, derives from your interview outside Nasrec Expo Center, 17 December, when you clearly and explicitly stated that the challenges that are faced by local government are caused by the development of their financing. So my question to you, President, does local government in South Africa has adequate access to funding? For the follow-up question on this question, is a professionalized local government a dream or reality? Thank you, President.
Thank you.
That's your research question, eh?
And lastly, it was the gentleman in the cream shirt.
Good evening, everyone, and Honorable President. My name is Sipho Lukele. I'm a student of UNISA. My question is very simple. I just want to know from the President, what is the update regarding the Thabo Mbeki Presidential Library? Because I can't seem to find anything on it anyway. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to allow one more question. We have to allow His Excellency to answer. At the back, at the very back, the gentleman at the very back. Okay, order in the House. Order in the House. Let us have the gentleman at the very back, and then after the President has replied, we shall have another round. Right? It's okay, yes. Okay. Please keep it short, no background.
I'll really keep it short. Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Martin Mande. I'm representing the South African Refugee-Led Network. And my question is straight to DRC. DRC is going to the election for next year. And we have a big number of IDP and refugees in the country. And there have been a couple of peace process currently going through Kenya, and we've seen all that group of people being isolated in the process. Now, South Africa, of course, has been a little bit championing the issue of process under your leadership, and now it seems like it's very quiet, and we don't know what is the position of South Africa in the DRC conflict currently.
Thank you. Okay, we are now going to allow His Excellency to reply. Then we shall have the last round.
It's according to my clock here, it's 5:25. when do we stop? Entirely up to you. Me, I'm ready to be until midnight. The program had said we finish at 5. But in fact, we started this question and answer thing a bit late. That's what I thought must go beyond that 5 o'clock. But there must be an end somewhere. Maybe we might have to take a vote on it as to when we finish. That also has to do, colleagues, I'm raising it in part because I think I must be brief in my answers, which may not be very satisfactory. But the time element, I think, is an important one. To deal with the simplest one first, the Thabo Mbeki Presidential Library, it's discussing with the Johannesburg City Council the various permits that are required from the city. Already the city has given a number of these permits that are required, but there's some outstanding ones. And we're hoping that that might be, there are no problems in the sense of difference of opinion or anything like that. It's been availability of people. And partly because, as you know, Johannesburg City has had too many changes of government. And when the change of government, we've got to start negotiations afresh and all that. But the city is not a problem. The city agrees. The outstanding, I'm told, we are likely to complete that process of talking to the city by next week or thereabouts, which would mean that we've got all of the necessary agreements from the city to begin construction. So the library will start the construction of the library this year, as soon as all of those matters of permissions have been approved by the Johannesburg City Council. The process of collecting material is continuing for the library, both from within the country and outside. For instance, the latest material that will come into the library is President Kaunda's archive. So the Kaunda family and the government of Zambia have said this material must come to the library here. So that process of collection is continuing. And the Vice Chancellor referred to this. This library, of course, works as we are part of the UNISA library. So working together with UNISA, and have now been joined by the National Library of South Africa as part of this process. So this is work in progress. It's moving, and I'm saying the only obstacles now have been just these licenses from the city, which arise really basically because this month you have Mayor Mbeki, and next month is Mayor Nkomo, and which affects the speed. On the DRC situation, I honestly do not know where our government is with regard to that. Recently, a discussion with President Uhuru Kenyatta, who, as you know, is the envoy of the East African community on the DRC. And that position has also now been endorsed by the African Union. So President Kenyatta is very concerned to deal with exactly the matters you are raising. In the first instance, to help to resolve the conflict in the Eastern Congo, which is why, together with Angola, they agreed with the M23 for a ceasefire. And what will have to follow that, of course, not just ceasefire, but discussions between the government of the Congo and the M23 to resolve the matter of the very, what is it that led to the death of the M23? And therefore to resolve those questions, which relate to some of the populations, as you know, in the Eastern DRC, the Banyamulenge. But as I was saying that, I'm not quite sure where our government stands on this. But I know for a fact that President Kenyatta, as that envoy, is very, very determined that they must intervene in the Congo, as he is doing, in a manner that will also help in terms of the preparations for the next elections. I don't, as I say, I really don't quite know where our government is with regard to this, but I'm sure they would be supporting the positions that President Kenyatta is taking. The matter about the youth, the destitute youth, and the challenges facing the youth, the matter is correctly raised. In reality, it's really about what do we do with South Africa. For instance, with regard to the matter of its economy. We can't resolve the challenges facing the youth of all sorts, youth unemployment, access to education, and things like this, without addressing the fundamental matter of the fate of the South African economy. During 2020, there was a very positive development took place in the country. In that, you had government, business, labor, civil society, everybody saying the problems of South Africa are so big that they need the cooperation of all of us. So government, business, labor, everybody, let's work together to find these solutions. Therefore, the need for a social compact. That was a very important decision, I'm saying, taken in 2020. And you recall that in September 2020, same year, the social partners produced one document to say, therefore, we are committed to act together to produce these outcomes. The problem that's arisen is that what they themselves, social partners, say were ready and willing to act together in order to produce these outcomes, they are not meeting to produce those outcomes. And that's a serious challenge. One example, the government and everybody else, the social partners have said, the matter about infrastructure investment is critical in terms of the recovery of the South African economy. Infrastructure investment. Now, the agreement then is that government must produce these infrastructure projects to say, here is an infrastructure project pay to do whatever, and it's going to require so much money. So the government must produce these proposals about infrastructure projects. And the private sector has said, we have got the money to put into those projects. So we don't have to raise money outside the country. The problem is that the government has not produced the infrastructure proposals. In part because the government has been saying that unfortunately the government does not have the capacity, doesn't have the capacity to produce these project proposals. We've got to find a solution to that problem. Because indeed, if you had that massive infrastructure investment, it would be a very important process of kickstarting this economy. And therefore creating the jobs even for young people. Creating the possibility for the training of people to fit into the jobs that are required by that resurrecting economy. All sorts of things like that. So, as a foundation, we are engaging the social partners to say this agreement, this view that they took is very important, and they must act on it. Yeah. And hopefully that will succeed. You have noticed that the President Ramaphosa, in the latest State of the Nation address this year, he committed the government to this point and said we're determined that the social partnership must work to produce this comprehensive social compact. It's critically important, colleagues, because if you take public finances, government, it's clear the government is under a lot of stress in terms of generating the funds that are required to be invested in the economy and society. Lots of problems. Matters that Dr. Power is dealing with. If you look at the public state companies, they are all in crisis. So when you've got to be investing trillions of rands into this economy, where is that investment going to come from? I'm saying we're in a fortunate situation where the private sector says, in my lifetime, this is the first time I had this 2020. When the private sector says we are ready to invest those monies, because they've got the money. That readiness to invest in the economy has not always been there, but they're expressing it now. So it's very important that we act on that. I'm saying all of this to say, in order to be able to address the youth challenges, we need a situation in which the economy is developing. Anybody who goes around pretending that they can address the youth challenges outside of that context is not telling the truth. Yeah. Because everything costs something. Question arises, who pays? So hopefully so within that context, let's say, with there's been a discussion in government for many years of building a dam on the Umzimvubu River in the Eastern Cape. We've been talking about that matter for forever. And the dam is necessary in that area. It's possible. Supply water, generate electricity, whatever. To this day, there isn't a concrete project proposal to say, here is a concrete proposal for the Mzimvubu Dam. This is how much it's going to cost. And so you, people who've got money, please invest. And they are standing there saying, we've got the money, we want to invest. Where is the project? If you did that, you would then know, look, if the Mzimvubu Dam is like this project, what kind of skills is it going to need? In what numbers? And therefore, taking care of the youth. Therefore, why don't we train the youth in those particular skills so they can become part of this project? I'm saying you can only address the matter of the youth, which is raised very correctly within that larger context. So we've got a bigger context of addressing this particular challenge. To meet what President Ramaphosa said, even in the latest State of the Nation address, that as a country we've got a responsibility to make sure that the social compact takes place. Because it's going to require a lot of, this economy is going to require a lot of money to invest in it in order to make it grow. And if we're expecting external investment to come in, why do we allow grey listing? We ignored the warnings that were given to us to please don't do the following so as not to be grey listed. We ignore all of that. Grey listing comes. Now we expect somebody to come from the rest of the world to invest. They are going to say, but I'm not going to invest with money launderers. It's a particular challenge, and clearly the government and the other social partners must address this matter seriously. So somebody was asking, what are you people like me? What are you doing about this AIDS renewal? What are you contributing? In part, to answer that question, this is exactly the kind of question that we are raising, some of us. That you can't make this economy grow in the way that it has to grow and develop by producing wish lists. Wish lists are very, very easy to do. I can produce a book of 200 pages of wishes. It will not produce the change that we want. And so if the business people who say, as they have said, business community here, we are ready to invest R1 trillion in the South African economy over a period of 3 years. I say to people, that's the first time in 2020 I heard private business say that since 1994. I don't know what changed. It was the first time since 1994 that the private sector would make a commitment of that kind. And R1 trillion is not small money. Some of us would not know how to pronounce it. Why are we as government let that commitment pass by? So that's some of us, the older ones, are trying to insist on with regard to the government. That the government has to do things, must act correctly on this matter. And act in a very concrete way. Act in a very concrete and specific way. As I say, not just to express wishes and hopes. And that relates also to the matter that was raised about ANC renewal. And the advantage some of us have is exactly that we are older. And therefore we know of a different ANC. Not an ANC that was identified by corruption. You know, I spent, I can't remember now, 20 years plus in Zambia. Now, as members of the ANC in Zambia, we depended on what was called supplies, which meant there was a logistics place there. And twice in a year, they would come and select clothing. The second-hand donated clothes. But every week, they give you a piece of paper to go and buy meat in a particular butcher in Lusaka. It specified how much meat you are allowed in a week. So we're depending on supplies like that. Quite late, they decided to give us a month, 14 kwacha cash. Now with 14 kwacha, you would be able to buy maybe 3 bottles of beer. And that's the end of your money. Well, or go to the cinema plus one bottle of beer. So that's the end of 14 kwacha. The consequence of that, comrades, is we come back here, home, in 1919. So we're working at ANC headquarters at Shell House. So the ANC gives us an allowance. I know an allowance to buy 2 beers, 3 beers. But this one they give me is a bit bigger than that. And I don't know what to do with it. So I gave it to my wife. That's, I've never had a bank account. I don't know what it looks like. A credit card, I don't know what it looks like. It's because each time I don't drink beer now. So I've got to go to Mrs. Mbeki each time I want to buy something. Fortunately, she's kind enough to assist. I'm saying that's a practical thing. It arises from the fact that we lived quite happily in Lusaka without money. Somebody else was managing our lives in terms of that. So you get used to it. So since then, I've never known how to handle money. I'm saying, therefore, we know of an ANC which was very different in many respects from the ANC of today. And therefore, the question that is posed, what you older people, what are you doing about this renewal matter? Is exactly to bring into the ANC that kind of experience. That the ANC is not like this. our colleague from Nigeria, I think, was saying the real ANC. Yeah. That's part of what we bring into this process. Whether they are listening to us, I don't know. We've got a very important member of the National Executive Committee of the ANC present with us here in the meeting. Mdu Ntuli, he was sitting in front of me here. I don't know, Mdu, are you listening to us? He said yes. Yeah. A colleague asked about what happened there. It's strong civil society that was promised. What happened? Because indeed South Africa went the wrong route. Yeah. I think I've dealt with that question. That one of the fundamental issues is the deterioration in the quality of the membership of the ANC, which was a governing party, which still is. That deterioration in the membership has an impact not only on the ANC, but necessarily on society, because we are dealing here with a governing party. In practical ways, you could say, for instance, that you could see what happened, that in this country, before 94, the rest of the world, because of involvement in the struggle against apartheid, did a lot to support civil society with funds and all of that. So we had a very thriving civil society, in part because it had that strength, resource strength, because of the rest of the anti-apartheid world assisted. 1994 came, and those resources dried up for civil society, because now the rest of the world said, now you've got your own government. Support yourselves. You saw that what has happened over the years has been a decline in the strength and capacity, activism and so on of civil society. That's one of the reasons, not the only. But I'm saying at the center of it was the weakening of the ANC. And therefore, the consequence that you were worried about, that the South Africa itself began to develop some of the negative consequences, characteristics that we've seen in other countries on the continent. Here we can only change that by changing the ANC. Unfortunately, I'm saying the ANC itself in conference says we must change ourselves. That change, the matter of a new vision for South Africa, the things that will say take South Africa out of its crisis, are the things I'm talking about. One of the things that will take this country out of its crisis is to take the economy out of crisis, to generate the resources that we all need. I'm quite certain that we need to have a look at the financing of local government, because it doesn't make sense to have a municipal council in some rural area, African rural area, and expect it to generate resources to be able to do anything. They can't. They need resources from elsewhere in the country. There's a very important proposal. We were discussing this with some colleagues, some comrades yesterday. A very important proposal made by the Presidential Economic Advisory Council on this same matter. That, for instance, where you have the Development Bank of Southern Africa, the DBSA, which is one of the main funders of local government, that the DBSA should stop funding the metropolitan municipalities, because the metropolitan municipalities have capacity to raise funds, and they do. The other municipalities don't have that capacity, and therefore that the funds that the DBSA is able to mobilize must go to these other municipalities that don't have the capacity to raise their own funds, away from the metros. And therefore that even the idea and the practice of the district development model is important. If in fact you then use that district, you use the district as a real instrument for change in the district in which it is, impacting on the local municipalities. For that, it needs funds, the district. And therefore, that the DBSA, part of what needs to happen is that the DBSA must shift its resources to those districts which have no capacity to raise funds. So when you talk about what do we do with local government, that's part of what you need to do, is to look at the funding formula for local government. Is it the right one? I suspect it isn't. But then, of course, as a consequence of that, once you say, we must then make sure that there is larger resources available at local government level in those areas. You've got to answer the question, do those municipalities have the capacity to look after those funds correctly? To make sure that they are not looted, to make sure that they are used for the purposes that are intended. That's an intervention that has to be made in local government to develop that kind of capacity. Even just to look after the additional resources you must put in there. So it is possible. It is possible to restructure local government in that way. The political parties have got another question that they must answer. That the people they put into local government must be people who are honest. People who are really dedicated to serving the people. You know that the law, yeah, with regard to local government provides for the establishment of ward committees and describes how they should function and how they should be composed. Yeah, I'm sure you can go across the country now, today, tomorrow. I don't know to how many such ward committees you'll find which are functioning properly. Very few. So the capacity of the communities to have oversight of their own council is not there. I'm saying these are elements that you need to attend to in order to build the kind of government you need at local level so that the municipalities, local government becomes effective. Again, it's a matter of detail, of practical detail. I'm saying the political parties must answer the question. Who are these people they are putting into local government? You have, I'm told, you have councillors. Councillors who can't read and write. And so when the councillors to meet as a report that is prepared by the municipal manager, they can't read it. And so what contribution are they going to make in terms of municipal government? The ANC, the members of the ANC here would know that the ANC has established a political school, the Oliver Tambo Political School, which there it's got a proper courses for people to follow. And so you can do so many modules and you get a certificate to say that you've studied these issues, you've understood them. It helps you in your political development as a member of the ANC. When the last local government elections took place, were held, the ANC took a very important, correct decision to say it must put in place a process to vet the people that it was proposing as mayors. Put together in place that process. So indeed the ANC in Johannesburg, a region, would come and say, this a short list of 3 people. So these are one of these 3 can be mayor of Johannesburg. So the committee would then have a look at that and interview the 3 people and decide which one of these is the best to be a mayor, and then say, look, so and so this is the person that we should put forward as a proposal for a mayor. You know what happened, colleagues, in that process? So some of these teams interviewing these candidate mayors, I come there as a candidate mayor, and I produce this certificate I've got from the Owa Tambo School, which shows that I've qualified in this. I'm really a good kid of the ANC. I'm educated in its politics. And then the team that is interviewing these candidates, they ask me questions about the subjects I've studied, and I can't answer. What they found was that what's happening is that I speak to Spusiso Vinkomo here. I said, Spusiso, please do me a favor. Please go and study at the Owa Tambo School in my name. So he studies at Tabon Bay and really studies and he qualifies. And they give him this thing. So when, as a candidate mayor, I'm producing this thing, it's him who studied for me. And that's why I can't answer the questions. I'm talking about something that was happening now at the end of 2021. That's why I'm saying the parties must really be serious about the matter. Who are these people that they are putting into local government? It can't be these people who pay, I'm told it's 5,000, 6,000 rand that they pay. So I owe a Professor Vinkomo here 5,000 rand. Because he did it for me. You can't have those people in local government. particularly in a situation where you introduce these larger resources which local government needs. You are opening the space for looting. But are our parties, including the ANC, are they sensitive enough to this thing? Who are these people that were putting in the local government? I know in some instances where the people who are put in government are actually criminals. Yeah. But they are labeled as these are members of the ANC and all that. So the new vision that must come from the ANC out of the crisis, get country out of crisis, has to do with dealing with these very practical matters. What do we do about the economy? What do we do about local government? As the economy changes, what practical measures are we putting in place to deal with the challenges of the youth? These are all practical things that need to be answered. Yeah. That's where the new vision must come from. Yeah. So I've dealt with the matter, therefore, of the local government definitely needs new funding, but also needs other things. It must be possible. It must happen that we do indeed have a professional public service. The ANC started discussing this thing quite a long time ago, 2005, 2006. That we had, between 1994 and then, the country had stabilized, and therefore it was not possible to produce a professional public service. And steps were taken at national level. Even then, they got disrupted because of the ANC's own challenges, that process. But it has to happen, and it is certainly possible. The qualities that, what qualities must people develop in order to be able to make their own positive contribution, including to play a role as leaders. I think there are really these two qualities that we're looking for. It's really a real, genuine commitment to serve the people of South Africa. It's a genuine commitment to serve the people of South Africa, not yourself. And certainly the capacity to be able to do something to help to bring about that change. So that you engage with the challenges of the country in a way that actually produces change. That's why at the beginning I was raising the matter about this particular school, this African school. And that is important in terms of the producing the change agents. A commitment to serve the people and a capacity to serve the people. That's basically what one needs. And of course, a courage enough to tell the truth. Courage enough to say, Comrade President, you are wrong. You know, and the kind of honesty such that, you know, a comrade of mine, quite old, used to make a joke a few years back when people in government would say something, even in a private conversation, he would say jokingly, "Hey, comrade, you must be very careful about what you say, because it might be career limiting." I'm saying this, one of the qualities we're talking about is not to behave like that. I can't tell the truth because it might be career limiting. And I think you find a lot of that, certainly in our government. People who behave in very strange ways. I think I know Professor Langabola here. I know her very well. But suddenly she's behaving in funny ways. Only to discover that it's career limiting that she's avoiding. No, and it's not, I'm sorry, not you. Not you. But I'm saying these are the qualities really we need. Yeah. And you know, and the interesting thing, I'm sure as all of us know, the ordinary people, they know that, they can sense it. That this one is really interested in our welfare. So it doesn't matter how loud you sing and you toy and all this thing. If you don't have this quality, the people will know that that one is just a singer and dancer. I think I've answered all the questions. Last round, 6.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Please give our Excellency a medal. I would like to apologize because of the time. The good news is that we have got another engagement in August with His Excellency. Okay. So, those of you who have not asked your question, I'll give you opportunity next time, in August, because we really must allow him to leave. But before His Excellency leaves, may I ask our photographer to be ready, because we want to take a photo with His Excellency in front here. And before he does that, please allow me to call Mr. David Reswalo to give the vote of thanks. Have you forgiven me? Because I cannot really allow more questions.
Program Director, Professor Esther Kibuka Sibitosi. I thank you for inviting me to the podium. And please allow me to first and foremost extend my greetings to former President and Chancellor of this 150-year-old university, His Excellency President Thabo Mbeki. And also the Vice Chancellor and Principal of this very same elephantine and behemoth of education, Professor Puleng Lenkabule. Members of the UNISA Council present here, management and staff of UNISA, unions, students, all colleagues from the Thabo Mbeki Foundation, as well as colleagues from sister universities and other entities, and in particular the African Bar Association, our esteemed, highly esteemed in particular, the members of the diplomatic corps present here this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Kyaletamish. Ladies and gentlemen, these acknowledgements extend to everyone virtually connected to this event across the country, the continent, and the globe via the various media platforms.
Program Director, I once again thank you and all the organizers of this elegant, educative, and highly conversational event of UNISA's Thabo Mbeki African School of Public and International Affairs, the TM School, for the opportunity to render this rather deceptively simple item on behalf of the management of the school. For indeed, it's a difficult and complex task, which those of you who think that they know English would justifiably say it is a Herculean or a mammoth task. Its complexity lies in that it is a nakedly predictable exercise. That is why it's called vote of thanks. Program Director, thank you again for steering this ship with such exuberance and stellar disposition, and underscoring the objective of this event as seeking for wisdom rather than mere information. Therefore, allow me to specifically thank the Executive Dean of the Thabo Mbeki African School of Public and International Affairs, Professor Velin Komo, for eloquently reminding us of UNISA's 150th year celebration as a milestone. Prof. Nkomo, you impressed upon students to have the quest to build societies that work. And you also shown the spotlight on the values and track record of President Mbeki, and in particular his role as a peacemaker, not only on the continent, but also the rest of the globe. And I want to appreciate the fact that you emphasize the notion of African Renaissance. Madam Vice Chancellor, the TM School registers its most sincere gratitude for always pushing yourself to create time in your busy schedule and tedious schedule as a leader of this gigantic university to honor our invitations and request to attend our events whenever you are called upon without complaining, I dare say. You have to teach us where to get such stamina. And I'm not surprised that the program director called you a woman of substance. Mr. Chancellor, I have learned that in West Africa, particularly in Ghana and Nigeria, there is an expression presciently articulated by the Igbo people of Nigeria that says, and I'm going to attempt it, Nwata koja aka osulu ogaranya ririri, or Nwata ko aka osoro ogaranya rienri. All this mean that the child who washes his hands eats with kings, or if a child washes his hands, can eat with kings or the elders. Similarly, in the language of Batavine, we say, Mogolo ga tlhokege baneng. This is thus to register our sincerest gratitude for the sagacious contribution you continue to make as an elder, and it is therefore a matter of appropriacy that we, like a child who washes his or her hands, continue to benefit from being in your presence and drinking from the well of your wisdom. On this issue of children and elders, and even this expression, the program director and the three speakers we have here today pick this powerful signifier quite impressively. The program director used the expression of, "We are sitting at the feet of wise people." And she further repeatedly associated you with wisdom. And therefore, this qualifies you to be an elder. And Professor Markwe referred to the concept of a village and directly referred to you as a village, and that we are going to be eating from the village. And indeed, we did eat from the village this afternoon. Professor Tiakata's poem, I think, speaks to this notion, although in a very, very deep and painful way. I also see that Dr. Poe used the idea that we are, and I want to quote him, we are appreciating the elders, so as we're praising the past. So, Mr. Chancellor, you have really positioned yourself as an elder. That is why you keep on saying, we are the cadres and then the change agents or agents of change, and which speaks to critical students who should play a constructive role in the transformation and development of our continent. So, Mr. Chancellor, thank you so much for effortlessly answering all the difficult questions raised by all of us in this house, and thereby sharing your wisdom. Thank you so much indeed. I return to Professor Markwe, Dr. Bowe, and Prof. Tiakata. We thank you for generously donating your time and insights in making sure that this conversation with President Mbeki indeed becomes truly dialogical and highly engaging for all of us, especially our students. Finally, I want to thank all of you, all the participants and attendants here, for the pragmatic and critical questions that got President Mbeki to speak and thoroughly engage. So, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, even those who are on virtual platforms, please let us give a deserved round of applause and gratitude to all of us for attending this session and really making this a magnificent success that it has been. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of this function. We want to thank you for everything. Siyabonga kakhulu. Asante sana. Now, because of protocol, please remain seated. I would like to ask His Excellency and to come take a photo. We must capture these moments. The speakers as well, the three speakers, please. And then we shall allow His Excellency to go first after our pictures. All right? That will be followed by His Excellency, the ambassadors, and then the rest of the staff. Thank you so much. Please be patient, just 1 minute. Protocol, yes. Just security, to give the, yes, she can approach. Okay, thank you. Okay, you want us to come down here? All right. As people are coming, I have a staff card for Swanapu. Pick it from me.
Thank you very